So the idea of Lador Vador means from generation to generation.
We are encouraged in our scripture and our Torah study and our Jewish tradition to know upon whose shoulders we stand. There's an expression, we all stood at Sinai. But it means that we didn't just come from nowhere. We weren't just spontaneously emerging from the primordial ooze and all of a sudden we had a Jewish people.
It's not individual, it's community. It's what one generation of Jews does that ensures the vitality and survival of the following generation, and on and on.
We as a people must endure, and that just doesn't happen without the efforts of all of us.
Lador Vador, from one generation to the next. I think the reason I was so proud to be president representing women, because women pass it on to their children, from their parents to their children to their grandchildren, hopefully to their great-grandchildren, what it is to be Jewish, what it is to represent our people.
The board chair really sets a tone for the organization.
They have to have a strong strategic perspective, looking at the big picture of a Jewish community.
You know, somebody once said the most beautiful 3 words in the English language are immediate past president. You know, the presidency of the Federation is a position that comes with both great joy and great challenges.
But you do it because it touches your deepest held values.
So in 1901, they founded the Jewish Charitable and Educational Union, and that is the beginning of technically the Federation. They were characters. Some of these early guys were really something. Up until about 1930s, the Depression, all of the presidents were captains of industry.
The founders of the Federation were mostly Reform Jews, mostly with a German or Austrian or French background.
Even in the 1920s, the orphanage, the home for the elderly, the hospital, all of those sorts of things were part of that idea, is to take care of not only those who got you to where you are now, but who will take over after you leave.
Well, I do like Moses Fraley. He was inspirational to somebody like Isidore Millstone, who, of blessed memory, lived to the age of 102. He was the only honorary president of the Jewish Federation.
You know, I've been very fortunate. I'm the grandson of people that are very well known in our community, i.e. and Goldie Millstone. They not only inspired people in the general community, but they were very inspiring to me.
I floated to the board if we could present him as an honorary president. And he accepted. And I think he was thrilled. And it always delights me to look at that wall and see his picture there.
And I used to refer to Isidore Millstone, Melvin Dubinsky, and Al Fleischman as the patriarchs. When they would have an Israel parade, they would be the grand marshals of the Israel parade, and they were like our sunshine boys. They were really larger-than-life, unique types of leaders. Sig Halpern was the first Holocaust survivor or escapee. He left Vienna after the Nazis took over in Austria, and he came to this country and became very involved, especially because of what he saw happen to his beloved Jewish community of Vienna.
There are a generation of us who became involved in the Jewish Federation because of those events that triggered our desire to build a stronger future for the Jewish people.
Every few years there seemed to be a major war in Israel, and that brought us together and gave us purpose.
President Reagan famously said, Gorbachev, take down that wall.
And we had close to 1 million Jews coming into Israel, which gave Israel a Jewish population base so they could move towards peace.
A lot of missions went to Israel to greet them as they came off the planes. There were tears from people who went to see them come off, but certainly tears from those coming down. They'd come down and kiss the ground.
In 1977, we went on a mission to Israel, and we had no idea what really went on in Israel, what went on in the Jewish community. We were so inspired and so proud to be Jewish.
We identified with Israel because it identified with us.
We happened to have landed in Israel the day before 9/11. We all stood together and we sang God Bless America and Hatikva. It was transformational for me. I had always thought about our local Jewish community, but I had never really thought in a serious way about our connection to Israel and to Israeli Jews. And so in that moment, I felt something much bigger than me.
These are people, maybe there was a little bit of a nudge from the parents to get involved at the beginning, but they didn't have to stay involved.
You can't force people into this kind of thing. They either feel it and they want to do it. You lead by example, and you hope that whatever is inside them will come out and join the fun.
I think it's important that leaders have a very delicate blend between a sense of confidence and a sense of humility.
I think leadership means doing. I think by doing, by taking on challenges, solving problems, that to me is the essence of leadership.
Maybe the best way to think about the collective legacy of these past presidents and past board chairs is to really look at the impact of the Jewish Federation over its long history.
I think I inherited it. What else can I say? I never had any choices here. My dad was heavily involved in the Jewish community. I've been involved, and now my children. We're proud of our Jewish heritage, and we feel it's incumbent upon us to give back.
This rolls in from one family of life to another family of life to the next family of life, and that's very important. And I think it's important that the Jews feel that connection.
It's important for two reasons: our future and our past. From a historical standpoint, it's nice to know what came before you, but more than that, it's important that people pick up the ball and keep running with it.
For my own daughter, I am thrilled to say she's actually really absorbed into her very fabric what I call Jewish values, and that's pretty thrilling.
My grandparents gave me the freedom to decide for myself how I could get involved in a way that was meaningful to me, and I hope that the next generation of my family will take on the same mantle.
And Tikkun Olam, which means to help repair the world. Well, how good is that? That's wonderful. But Jews do it uniquely in so many different ways. And again, if you can impart that from your children and grandchildren, that hopefully they will continue that tradition and that heritage.
The future of the Federation is bright.
because there was a famous Look magazine cover story called The Vanishing American Jew. It was published in 1962. Well, guess what? Look magazine went out of business, but the Jewish community is still alive and well.
We're going to be around, 10 years from now, we're going to be around 100 years from now.
But my grandfather, he had enough confidence in not only this generation, but future generations, that if he left the money, the right people sitting around the table would be able to help solve the problems of their time.
But in our era, it is really our task to help them become part of what we do, to help them understand why it's important that they assume roles in building the Jewish community for the future, so their children in turn will look back to their parents and say, for us now, this is the door of a door.
We have a glorious past, we have a nice present, and I think we have a glorious future.
Ideas don't die, feelings don't die, values don't die, and that's what's passed on. And that's what we hope to preserve, the door of a door from generation to generation.